Well, I've had to change my location as to where I'm actually filming, and that's because, well, it's raining out. So, with the rain out, it's no longer freezing the way it is. It's now about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. That's just about 10, a little bit above 10 degrees Celsius. So we're in that range there. It's one thing what I saw is that the warm weather came in as the solar activity on the sun began to pick up again. There were several events on the sun, coronal mass ejections, that were significant enough that I think it impacted on the, from what I observed anyway, it had an impact on the temperature that was around here. There was an Arctic system that was hanging over us with the CMEs, the coronal mass ejections, the activity on the sun. What I've been able to see is an increase in heat down in the Caribbean, down at the equator, and also that heat is distributed along the Arctic all the way up to not only Arctic but up to British Columbia, off the coast of British Columbia, the northwest. The Northwest Pacific. And what we saw up there is, you see, this is where our storms are coming in from. Before we had an influence from the Gulf of Mexico, but now we're having our weather influenced here in Ontario by a system that pushes all the way from the Northwest Pacific, or the Pacific Northwest, all the way across British Columbia, across the country, and into our area here. So, anyways, I gotta stop filming right now. Right. Well, as it so happens, the light that I'm getting to film comes from a hallway where there's a door, because I can't stand it where the security light is where it's raining. So someone just came out, so I had to stop filming. Anyways, I realized I forgot to give you a time and date stamp, and that's basically October 20th, and it's just about 11:30. So, we've got the weather now coming across from the Pacific Northwest, across British Columbia, across Canada, all the way to Ontario. This is sort of, and then it goes up the standard up the Ohio Valley. Well, not way up the Ottawa Valley actually, and then out across the St. Lawrence out to the Atlantic. That's sort of the path the weather seems to be taking. The interesting factor here is what happens to weather systems as it approaches the Great Lakes and interacts with the Great Lakes. And it seems to be that the Great Lakes do have some degree of impact on what weather approaches here or doesn't approach here. The bizarre factor as well is that you would think that the patterns would be consistent across a variety of different areas. Like I say, all of Toronto here should have had the same type of weather, but it doesn't necessarily happen that way. What's been happening here, as I showed you, that I filmed on the video on the Sony HD video camera, and that will be coming out later, that the lightning was off to the east, to the northeast, not where I was. There was a very little lightning where I was, and apparently from because one of my friends came by while I was sitting out here, and they were just a little south of me, not even, let's say 3 or 4 kilometers south. I mean directly south of me, and heavy lightning, heavy rain, but we didn't have much of anything here. We've had maybe at the most 5 minutes of rain between, and then between the 5 minutes of rain, there's maybe a half hour, 45 minutes between that. So there is a sort of things that are missing from the satellite that you don't see unless you come out and do the observation, and this may have an impact on how weather forecasters should be doing their job. And in other words, for me, it's an interest not about weather forecasting, but rather an interest of physics and atmospheric physics, because we're looking at the thermodynamics here. But the question is, what's actually happening out there? And the thing is that the weather systems, although it does push from the Pacific Northwest, Right here, the Great Lakes, weather systems can pop up within 3 to 4 hours and then disappear again. So that's what's been happening, and now the question is to figure out why this is actually happening. This is the goal of science. First you do the observation, then try to figure out, again, through observation, through further observation, what's actually happening. So anyways, I'll leave this here now. I'll see you in the next ad hoc notes. Alright, let's get this camera centered here. Yeah, it seems to be a challenge to getting the camera exactly centered because I can't see what's happening. So I have to use an approximate. It is 23 hours and 35 minutes into the day of October 20th, 2015. When you're tired, you have a hard time remembering what day it is, and also the time as well. So even though you just looked at it and saw the time, there's always that issue. So anyways, there's not much going to happen today. I'm watching another storm coming in, various different features from the satellite, and that's what I'm out here doing the observation. So when I see an object on the satellite, and I track it into my region, that's what I watch for. And I watch to see how the weather out here, what I observe, changes and matches up with the images I get from the satellite. So we're gonna leave it short here today. I'm a little tired, so tonight's gonna be early too, so I'm only gonna go till about 1 o'clock, and then we'll try again Tuesday. Well, no, today's Tuesday. We'll try again Wednesday night for something longer.